Welcome to The Explainer. You know, every once in a while, you hear a story that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. Well, this is one of those. And believe me, it is 100% true. So how on earth did a 4-year-old dog manage to do what Scotland Yard couldn't? How did he save the biggest sporting event on the planet? Yeah, let's get into this absolutely wild piece of history from 1966. All right, so let's set the scene. It's just a few months before England is about to host the World Cup for the first time ever. Now, you gotta remember, this is 1966. We're talking swinging London, national pride is through the roof. And for a country that's absolutely nuts about football, hosting the Cup, it was a huge deal. But all that excitement was about to turn into just sheer panic, because the biggest prize in soccer just vanished. And look, we're not just talking about some random cup here. This was the Jules Rimet Trophy. It was a global icon, this incredible piece of art, and it represented the absolute peak of achievement in the most popular sport in the entire world. And it was just sitting there on public display in London for everyone to see. It was insured for £30,000. Now, to really get a sense of the absolute meltdown that was about to happen, you have to understand what that kind of money meant back in 1966. I mean, we're talking a massive sum of money for the time. A real fortune. And that number, that insurance value, it really drives home just how important this trophy was, which is exactly what made what happened next so shocking, and frankly, humiliating for the whole country. So get this, it's the middle of a Sunday, there's a church service going on in another part of the building, and some thieves just slip in, pop open the display case, and walk right out the back doors. And poof, just like that, the biggest prize in sports is gone. Okay, so the trophy's gone. What happens next? Well, let's look at the official response and how the hunt for this thing quickly went from a top priority investigation to a total national embarrassment. I mean, the pressure was just immense. You've got the Football Association staring down an international disaster. And of course, headlines all over the world are just having a field day, making fun of Scotland Yard, who, by the way, are supposed to be the best of the best. But here's the thing. They had pretty much nothing to go on. No real leads. And then, a break. Or so they thought. A ransom note shows up from this mysterious guy calling himself Jackson. He wants £15,000 for the trophy. So the police set up this whole sting operation, and it just completely blows up in their faces. They do manage to arrest a guy, but it turns out he's just a middleman, a pawn in the game, not the guy pulling the strings. So now their one and only lead is a complete dead end. The official investigation just grinds to a halt. Yeah, they've got a guy in custody, but they still don't have the trophy. Things looked so bad that the FA, the Football Association, secretly hired a jeweler to make a replica. They were really preparing for the worst. But then, exactly 1 week after the whole thing went down, on a quiet Sunday night, the case was about to get cracked. And the hero? It was someone nobody, and I mean nobody, could have ever seen coming. So let's meet our heroes. On one side, you have David Corbett, a 26-year-old guy who worked on the River Thames, and on the other, his partner in crime, his 4-year-old black and white collie mix, Pickles. And on the night of March 27th, they just headed out for a totally normal walk near a phone booth. And this right here, this is the moment where a completely ordinary walk, something they'd probably done 1,000 times, turns into one of the most legendary stories in the history of sports. All of a sudden, Pickles gets really interested in something. He bolts over to a neighbor's car and starts sniffing like crazy at this package that's wrapped in newspaper, just kind of tucked under the front wheel in a hedge. And Corbett's first thought? Amazingly, he thought it might be a bomb. But curiosity gets the better of him. He gently tears a corner off the newspaper wrapping. He sees a blank shield, then he tears a bit more, and he sees the names. Germany, Uruguay, Brazil. And in that split second, he knew. He knew exactly what his dog had just found. So he grabs it, rushes to the nearest police station, and practically slams the package down on the counter, telling them what he's found. And the desk sergeant's reaction? Well, it was just a perfect piece of British understatement. I mean, can you believe the absurdity of it? For a minute there, David Corbett, the guy who found the trophy, was Scotland Yard's prime suspect. It's just incredible. But once they finally cleared him, the whole country's attention and their massive sense of relief turned to the real detective in the story, Pickles. With the national treasure back where it belonged, Pickles just exploded into fame. He went from being some guy's dog to an overnight international celebrity. And really, he was the perfect hero for the moment, right? This humble underdog who did what all the powerful people couldn't. Oh, and the rewards that came pouring in, they were just unbelievable. Corbett got enough cash to buy a whole new house. Pickles himself was named Dog of the Year, got a fancy silver medal, a year's supply of free dog food. He was even invited to the winner's banquet after England won, where he apparently licked all the plates clean. The dog even starred in a movie. So, when you look at the final score in the investigation, the results is pretty clear. 1 for the heroic dog, and a big fat 0 for one of the most famous police forces in the world. And that really is the beautiful heart of this story. It's just a fantastic reminder that, we look to the big, powerful institutions to solve our problems, but sometimes the greatest saves come from the most unlikely heroes you could ever imagine. And that leaves us with one last nagging question. Because while we know who the hero of this incredible story is, the true identity of Jackson, the bad guy who planned the whole thing, to this day, that remains a complete and total mystery.